Summer.
Summer, it's hot.
I hate that it's summer and it's hot in this room when we're doing this though.
I know.
It's much less
Hold on,
comfortable.
let me just pat down and then we can...
It's sheen is what it is.
God, it's so gross and oily and...
It's like you put orange glow all over your face.
A little bit. I'm trying to get more sun. It's not working.
Okay. And if you're huffing and puffing, I will find you time after time, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Movies You May Have Missed, the show where we discuss
Movies you may have missed.
like that song, don't know the words.
But really, the only important thing that we're trying to get at is that this week we're talking about 2 time travel films.
Are we?
Time after time.
Is it time travel? Really? Exactly.
We're sort of dealing with 2 paradoxy, alternate university methodology for temporary cycles and iterations of time travel films. But
Essentially-
that doesn't really roll off the tongue as well.
No, I mean, they're basically just time travel movies without the phone booth.
Yes.
Or the Dolorean, essentially.
Or the police box.
Yeah. Don't get the last one. The
That's
British
okay.
thing.
Yeah. It's the British thing.
The British thing.
The
you know.
British thing.
You know the one British thing?
Yeah. So, first up.
First up, oh my god, finally, we've been waiting.
You've been
Waiting
waiting
with
for
a
us to talk about this
Finger
film,
hovering
I'm
over the
sure.
out on DVD button for like 6 months. But guys, we're back on the Duncan Jones Express
Yes, we are.
for a slightly more successful movie than the last one we
Well,
covered.
I had the pleasure of meeting Duncan Jones at South by Southwest,
Mm.
where I told him I kind of hope this movie's not on our show, because that would mean it was really successful. And Source Code is actually a pretty successful film, but I kind of want to say fuck it, I want to talk about it.
Not successful enough.
There, okay, and we want you guys to watch it more.
Right.
That's our justification for reviewing this film on our show.
And that's all we need. And we must be talking about none other.
Then the
2010?
11.
Wow, 2011.
Drama,
Time travelish.
science fiction,
Stop the bomb.
Gyllenhaalian. Oh, that doesn't count. Classic! Source Code.
So, kids, you might remember Duncan Jones back from our Moon episode some time ago. I don't know, it's been a bit, 40 episodes or so.
Ish.
Moon is a damn near perfect movie, small-timey by first-time director Duncan Jones, son of David Bowie.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could do a good David Bowie. I don't even.
Round
What is he?
control to Major Tom.
That's gonna have to do.
That's about as much as we can do for David Bowie.
Captain Culture Stevens, this is Beleaguered Castle.
We're still dealing with like the ramifications of science fiction. Like Moon is a really good example of taking a tired sci-fi trope and then sort of trying to find a way to humanize it. And I think Duncan Jones is doing the same thing with Source Code.
Yeah, and I think again, Source Code is a similar type of procedure as far as writing something reasonably small. You know, kind of a big thing, taking it down. In this case, we open up in some kind of creepy kind of sci-fi environment with Jake Gyllenhaal playing Coulter Stevens. He's a captain in the Air Force, doesn't know where he is. And we introduce almost immediately this like crazy sci-fi thing
Right.
where we've got this guy, he's in a pod, and Vera Farmiga is in a little
Talking
window
to him.
somewhere else. She's acting kind of sketch,
Yeah.
honestly, not really looking him in the eyes so much.
And sort of holding some information back, we think.
Because apparently they have the technology, guys, the technology
Yahoo.
to force him into another man's body for 8 minutes. The 8 minutes that apparently we have something of a black box synapse recorder in our brains, and he's reliving this 8 minutes over and over again, and it's just before a bomb goes off on a train.
Where is it? What does it look like? What kind of explosive?
Right.
How is it detonated?
Right.
Find the bomb, and you will find the bomber.
Find the bomb. Wait, no.
And we also sort of, one of the things I really appreciate about the film is in the explanation of this, it's not time travel.
Right.
It's that we're just going back 8 minutes in this person's memory. And that allows us to sort of explore the space. And we also think that the guy who blew up this train is planning another plot. And so it's vital to find more information, just anything that they can find from the happenstance on the train to make sure that they stop any future threats from this individual.
What are you late for?
What?
You seem concerned about the time. What are you late for?
I'm not to an asshole festival. I hear you're headlining.
Oh, that's funny. What are you, a comedian?
Yeah. He is a comedian.
So naturally, Dr. Gyllenhaal is embodying some dude named Sean. He is
Whoops.
a teacher of some kind on a commuter train around Chicago. Tangent, great aerial photography.
Oh, Chicago
at the
has
beginning of the
never
thing.
looked cleaner.
Yeah, we're
than
used
in
to this. We're
film.
used to the establishing like helicopter work, but apparently they didn't use stock. They shot it themselves. Did a lovely job. Looks really
Looks
cool.
really
Kind of
good.
made me want to go to Chicago, even though I don't really like Chicago very much. I have no predisposition to liking Chicago anyway.
Brutal winners. I'll give them that.
They have brutal
So-
winners, and they have Michelle McHagan. That's I said it correctly. Apparently.
You're the pretty girl. The distraction.
Distraction.
Every sim has one.
Hey, are we gonna make up the 10 minutes?
So apparently Sean rides this train every day, seems to know the sort of like cast of characters. And so Jake Gyllenhaal as Sean spends these multiple trips sort of grilling the people in this passenger train
Just
because
to
they
dig up
seem to think
information.
that he's in that train. Maybe it was proximity to the bomb because the bomb's right there.
Right.
Looked like a backpack with a cell phone taped to it.
Ish.
Not a lot of safeguards for a bomb, if you ask me.
It's kind of a DIY affair.
Should I unplug it, or do you want me to just leave it, or? Okay, I'm just gonna leave it.
And what that basically allows for the plot, I think, is to have a little bit of a a la deja vu crime thriller.
Right.
And also a little bit of a, hey, how are ya? I'm Jake Gyllenhaal and you're Michelle MYMHM. Where's this crazy train going?
To Sexy Town.
Yeah.
That's
it
where
goes.
this crazy
The train only goes to Sexy
only
Town.
goes to Sexy Town. Sexy Town or Bombsville.
Yeah, I could go to Bombsville. That
so-
place sucks.
No one likes going to Bombsville. So
It
we got to
is
make sure
hotter than Bombsville than it
we
is
got to
here.
make sure the train goes to
Sexy Town.
Sexy Town. Right.
It was good advice. Thank you.
So this movie actually gets a fair amount of criticism just because this is something that we've seen before. The idea of how Coulter makes it back to the past to study this passenger's memories is very much Quantum Leap. The methodology of the crime thriller in this film is very much, you brought up deja vu, and that's actually a common criticism too. But where I think this film succeeds as opposed to some of these other films or Quantum Leap, the TV show, is it's in much the same way that Duncan Jones has made cloning in Moon a character drama, and it was focused on those characters and had very little to do with like the science. It wasn't The Sixth Day with Arnold Schwarzenegger. This film, I think, does a very similar job of each of these characters are sort of in their own way trapped in their own little boxes or prisons or protocols, and it's in how those characters relate to each other that we then see sort of the drama unfold. So I think we're not just sort of sat down and asked to watch yet another thriller. It's not another Time Cop. It's not another Deja Vu. It's not. There was another film that had that as a basic component too, and I can't remember its name. But instead, now what we're watching is instead a little bit more of a character drama that is backed up by a crime thriller.
On the upper deck of the next carriage, there's a conductor's compartment.
It's a small office containing a strongbox. Inside is a loaded handgun. Get to it. You are authorized to use whatever force necessary.
And, Quantum Leap also had no fucking clue what the future was, what like the time that we were in. It just knew that we could have wacky out of body
No, like
experiences.
the future, the fiction was based solely on we not knowing what the future looked like.
We saw like one time it was glowy, like people in shitty robes,
Wild Stallions
Wild
music playing in the
Stallions,
background.
yeah. God
right,
gave us
yeah.
rock and roll, ladies and gentlemen. Whereas this one, we spent a great deal of the time of the movie in this like weird, intense. Where am I? Pod? Why is Vera Farmiga Farmiga in the window? What the hell is happening?
Okay, and now we're going right back to the train again.
The sort of like dark sci-fi of that space balancing with the
amazingly clean photography of Chicago.
Well, yeah, and it's sort of I think it's interesting because it's a crime scenario, but also escapism for Jake Gyllenhaal. He can just ride a train with a pretty lady.
Yeah,
which is a nice fucking change of pace from this whatever the
and
hell
even
he's
if
doing.
Every 8 minutes I'm gonna get blown up, that's still better than being in this little box.
Where's that man? I saw a guy with a crutch on the monitor. He looks like he's in charge. I want to talk to him.
That's irrelevant, Captain.
I want to talk to your commanding officer!
You can talk to him upon completion of your mission.
And they make a good decision with this movie insofar as like the sci-fi writer has a decision to make in this moment.
Yep.
And it tends to be the good ones are one of two things. It's either like actually a fucking real thing and I've done my homework and It's borderline provable. See Primer. Primer does a good job
Primer.
with an impossible thing
Right.
of chasing the most plausible form of it. Or you go, don't know, fuck it, and you just let it exist.
And you also have characters that don't need to explain it to themselves. I think that's maybe the biggest fallacy in trying to explain something to the audience, is having that one character who just doesn't get it, and then a kindly old scientist comes by to explain it to him to try and sell the audience on it. I think where a movie like Source Code succeeds is that in having all of the characters just accept that this is the way things work, the audience is just going to accept it as well, and we can get on. We don't have to have that 5-minute sequence of having like a CG pop up on a screen that explains the iterations of time within the synapses of the brain, and then that explanation falls flat because then you have your audience questioning whether or not that could happen, as opposed to just paying attention to the plot.
You quit your job and you enrolled in an LSAT course.
Watch it. Good guess.
Soda can. Coffee spill. Listen to me. Don't answer this. You deserve better than that guy. Everything looks more beautiful in retrospect, doesn't it?
How did you know those?
Vital statistics. So this is probably second to Omen in being
Omen
one
did
of
more?
the most successful films we've ever talked about on the show. We do have to apologize. This isn't really a movie that was missed per se. I think it was, but we really still want to expose more people to it because we think it's a phenomenal addition to the sci-fi genre. Domestic gross 54 million, foreign 68, worldwide 123 million dollars. Yeah, this movie wasn't really missed.
I don't know. That's kind of
But-
missed. That's still like statistically insignificant compared to the opening weekend of a Harry Potter.
No, I know. I mean, it's not like the $500
but
million.
it's not one of those like, oh my god, you made $4,000
Right.
in your entire theatrical run.
Right, but then also extremely exciting because Duncan Jones was given a much bigger budget. So, you know, Moon's numbers were a little disappointing, but that was, what, a $4 million film? This was a $32 million film. And not only did it make its money back, it made a fantastic worldwide profit. And it's probably going on to do some pretty good business, DVD, VOD. So that's what's really exciting about this, is because it's that kind of momentum that I think we'll get another film out of Duncan Jones very soon.
Okay, I'm gonna press redial. Your phone is gonna ring, and then I'm gonna shoot you. Sorry.
Rotten Tomatoes, we've got a 91% critic score, right where I thought it would be.
Sweet, I haven't heard these yet.
82% audience score.
Yeah, well,
Just
I mean,
a touch
I actually
lower.
that's higher than I thought it would.
You really
be.
you think so?
Well, because the trailer that broke for Source Code made it look like an action movie. It
Oh,
truly
yeah,
made it
yeah.
look like an action movie.
No, that's fair.
And I like that Duncan Jones didn't make an action movie. I like
Right.
that Moon is a sci-fi film that doesn't break ground with the sci-fi-ness.
Instead,
You know what I mean?
taking it back to
really
a more human
intense
perspective.
robots and all these things,
Right.
but it's just is a great small-scale story and avoids like ultra cliche tropes. I think this movie does a very similar thing. I mean, the
Absolutely.
fact that the train never went into a tunnel chased by a helicopter, gumb, like was great for me. But I would think that some people are going to walk into Source Code thinking Jake Gyllenhaal machine guns,
Right.
and
Or even just Jake Gyllenhaal Jarhead.
yeah, and could it, interesting choice. Isn't Jarhead a movie about not being able to find combat?
Oh, true. Okay, never mind.
But could potentially wind up feeling like actually Jarhead probably pissed a lot of people off. Like a movie poster is him with a machine gun. And I don't think there's a shot fired in the movie.
There's a really
Almost.
but there is that really active football sequence, a la volleyball from Top Gun.
Or the lost 80s film Side Out.
Oh, hey, look at you.
Yeah.
I feel sick.
So also one of the things that I really love about this film is just how simple and clean the cinematography is. Tracking shots are very smooth. It's funny that the night before we did this review, I finally sat down and watched The Taking of Pelham 123, the Tony Scott version, and just how that is nothing but a bastardization of every single quick jump cut, edgy, hard pan, zoom, track, handheld, just sort of in a very aggressive and abrasive kind of manner. And a film like this, which sort of deals with trains, plots, terrorism, could have fallen into that kind of cliche or that kind of trap as well. But instead, we've actually got something that very much reminds me of the cinematography from a movie like The Man in the Gray Flannel Suit, where scenes play out just a little bit longer. Everything's just the camera moves, the camera pans are a little more calmed down. You get to see what's happening. You're not constantly being jarred with camera movement and quick cuts and that
It's a
kind
more
of
classic and
Michael
elegant.
Bay.
Although
type
the
of
relevance,
thing.
I don't see. Man in the Gray Flannel Suit was black and white.
No, I didn't mean the cinematography in terms of color or black and white. I meant how
Because
the,
it was
how the
black
camera
and-
moved in Man in the Gray Flannel Suit.
I don't think cameras moved back then.
No, they did. They did.
Doors are closing.
But just fantastic to see him getting another movie, bigger movie, doing a great job in
Yeah.
much the same way that I was really inspired by Moon, being able to be
Absolutely.
inspired by a movie like this, which has a neighbor, you know, in films like Deja Vu that kind of fucking suck, although Deja Vu certainly wasn't as bad as its street rep.
No.
But how empowering it is to see that thing done by this other team or different circumstance, different script, and like it a lot.
Right.
Sort of like, I don't know, it lifts the veil from like a lot of really cliche areas that
Absolutely.
you remember
I-
that you can tell great
I really
stories.
hope. I really hope this is what we continue to see from Duncan Jones. Is him taking. I mean, and I don't want to say tired. He's not taking tired tropes and completely reimagining them, but he is taking sort of established.
Statue of Liberty, I guess.
I guess, but he is taking established, science fiction materials, and he is doing something just a little fresh with them. He's sort of just taking one step to the right and giving us a new experience with something we might have been otherwise familiar with.
Yeah, and the nerd core in me just likes seeing new good sci-fi in
Right.
general.
Absolutely.
I
Again,
mean, I'm less nerdy than
this guy.
some people that sit to my left once a week, but I still do have that in me. That's what she said.
Everything's gonna be okay.
But as if that wasn't enough,
Yes.
we do have another
Yes, we do.
slightly stranger, more argumentative offering. Put them dukes up.
So we gotta get some nerd fight on.
Throw away your trapezoids.
And your rhombuses
Won't be needing any spheres
or dodecahedrons.
because we're talking about none other than the 2009
Science fiction,
little horror.
fantasy,
Where's my shotgun?
aquatic,
Ooh, birds aplenty.
recursive.
Infantile.
That's not a thing.
Classic triangle.
So first off, this has been a fan request several times. Unfortunately, just because of the temporary nature of Facebook and Twitter, I've completely lost who recommended this film. Though it has been recommended to us several times. So if you're still watching our show, thank you for recommending this film, whoever it was that did so originally.
Yes. And Triangle does come out of a much more independent wang than a
Yes.
movie like Source Code.
Absolutely.
And is kind of it's certainly a victory of its independent nature. Aside from like 3 CG shots,
You were pointing out some composition shots that are sort of
silly,
glaring.
I would say silly and
Well, and
potentially unnecessary.
I think that was definitely something that I agreed with, where there were a couple shots where they were trying to wow us with their matte painting composite CG water when they just didn't
It's
need
like
to.
you didn't need to put down the brush. And Triangle reminds me slightly of films like Funny Games. And so like the
Oh,
tone,
yeah.
it's got this really bizarre, like continual reveal. It's a movie of a reveal every like 5 minutes. that
Right.
Some make me more confused. Some go, oh dear God, the consequences are the spring snakes in my can of beans, if you are. Spring snakes of consequences, guys.
Well, and I like the sort of back and forth of here's a reveal that just totally screwed up what I thought was happening in the film, and here's a reveal that helps me understand something else that then will lead to another reveal that takes me back to being completely off balance again.
You're just having a bad dream, that's all, baby. That's all it was.
Naturally, in a movie like Triangle, we follow character of Jess, principally. And Jess is the little blonde crazy person, oops, with a maniac son. He spilled the paint that looks like it was in a Play-Doh jar. I don't know if you noticed this.
I thought it was like in a beer cup, like one of those
Oh,
blue
that'd be
plastic
baller, making
cups.
your
Wouldn't
kids
that be
paint
awesome?
out of beer cans that you've converted into sharp-edged storage containers.
Oh, that could work.
Just to teach
How,
them a lesson.
how else would they learn?
But she's, of course, played by Melissa George, who I understand you might have seen in films such as Down with Love, which you haven't seen.
I have not seen.
And also...
She's got a little bit part in Dark City. There were a couple other films that she was in.
And
she did exactly...
We cannot remember them.
2 of the episodes of the American version of Coupling.
Oh.
Which is unfortunate.
That is sad.
Although, how much fun is it that this film has, like, 3 guys, 3 girls, like, friends or coupling...
But goes kind of the way it does. Maybe the whole thing is just a big old metaphor for relationships, you know?
Hey, just for the record, I'm not interested.
And wouldn't you know it, Jess is scheduled for a little sailing jaunt
Well,
with
it's these
her...
like these hip guys and these hip girls, and go out on the water. Maybe a little love connection happen between you. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know why you talk like that, but
That's
yes.
what all the hip dudes and girls are doing when they're
But
wearing
does
their
a
white
lo-
boat shoes and
Does
going
a
out
love
on the
connection
water.
happen really on like a 20-foot like sailboat with nowhere to go?
Maybe it does when you wear a sweater vest wrapped around your neck.
Or a white Henley with a necklace that has a tooth.
Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. But wouldn't you know it, name like Triangle, the boat's called Triangle, of course. But there does seem to be, to me, some kind of indication, be it that they're left from Florida, that we might be talking about the Bermuda Triangle. So after being completely stopped by a lack of wind, they are immediately scuttled by the mother of all storms. And consequently rescued by a giant, creepy, empty ocean liner.
And not just like any kind of
cruise ship,
but like an old steamer, you know, sort of Titanic era.
Yeah, it's essentially a big
it's like they got picked up by the Queen Mary after it killed a whole bunch of people and was haunted.
Yeah, and definite FU from the like CG team with the boat. Like I know you had to do something. You couldn't just be like, oh look, now we're on a cruise liner.
Right.
But they had a great set for on the boat, but the like approach shots of are just the standouts as far as not.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the bad comping examples I think you were talking about before, because it does look just like a big old matte painting that's being enlarged.
Yeah, it's just the poning of any independent film by CG goals that are outside the reach.
Where is everyone?
Sally! Please. Please, I don't know where everyone is. But the ship's not deserted. I mean, maybe someone must think that it is, but it's not. So let's just go to the bridge, we'll find the skipper, and then we'll go home.
I saw someone.
Fuck.
Wait!
And as soon as they land on the boat, like
All
serious
hell breaks loose.
Dubious award flag for completely crap horror movie activity. The first thing they do is
let's split up,
let's
guys.
all split up and fail to arm themselves. Look, man, if I am picked up,
I totally
by
swear I
a
saw someone
cruise
over
ship,
there down in the hallway.
The
Better not grab anything to defend myself with.
If it's a chair or a fire extinguisher, if I'm on an empty cruise
Something.
ship and somebody's like playing games with me, I am armed in a half a second.
Right.
At least with the pineapples. Something to throw when I shriek like a child. They're spiky. It would suck to be hit with the pineapple.
Especially if you got him in the
Ask
face.
anyone.
Hit yourself in the face with a pineapple. Get back to us. Let me know if you enjoyed it. I'm willing to bet good money you did not.
So naturally, people do start dying, and I think this movie makes it about halfway toward the end of the crappy horror movie cul-de-sac, where you totally think it's going that way,
right? Before
it then barrel rolls, or does the Immelman? Is that the one? That's the plain one where you go like that. I think
right.
the term.
Yeah.
It does one of those, and essentially all theoretical hell breaks loose. Yeah. And we start seeing, I mean, what's that? That's another Jess. You're not me. I have a shotgun. And what?
Whoever it was might want to come back for these.
Let me see. These are mine. These are my keys.
What are you talking about?
They're mine.
Bullshit.
This is my house key. This is my car key. This is my son. See?
Well, we start playing with a recursive loop of people continuously getting back on the boat after they have all been killed. And so once they're all killed, then they get back on the boat.
And that's when it really gets interesting.
No. Oh, you fucking bitch! You shot him! What? He said you shot him! What? I didn't! You're a liar!
the reveals that happen throughout that sequence are genuinely some of the most off-balancing pieces of footage I've ever seen in a film in my entire life.
Yeah, I mean, a movie that goes like that, I set myself up for, okay, crazy stuff's gonna happen.
Because I really thought it was going to be, what was that Juliana Margulies movie? Was it like Ghost Ship or something like that?
I didn't see.
I really thought it was going to be that, where at some point, like a CG ghost would come out and be
They're
like,
the crew that died 1,000 years ago.
You must turn this ship back and right the wrongs of the past.
Yeah, I'm with you completely.
And when it doesn't do that, and instead we get sort of baghead and shotgun, that's when I'm completely unsure as to what's going to happen next, and in a good way. Like, that actually helped sort of motivate me to continue watching the film.
And again, great use of one reveal, which will completely confuse you, followed by another larger reveal, which will answer that one, but open more questions. It's a miniaturized form of like a season of Lost, like slammed into the middle of a movie. And it gives you something to argue about.
Yes.
I want to save you
Big
from
time.
much of the trouble, but following the watching of this movie, we were at it for at least 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because this film is something of a paradox movie, and paradox movies are fucking obnoxious because you can't ever really like arrive at a great closed answer done, but you still feel compelled to pursue it. And what is a paradox film, you ask? Well, good
Terminator.
thing we've talked about one before, and is
little blast from the past.
Is potentially best summarized in the grandfather paradox.
Yes.
So there I am. That's me.
Tim.
And I make a time machine.
Wow.
Identifiable by the arrow.
Nicely done.
And I get in my time machine and I go back in time to meet my grandfather.
As you'd want to do.
Yeah. Nice guy. Only for some reason, I'm a sociopath and I kill my grandfather.
Yes.
Bang. He no longer
exists.
Meets my grandmother.
Yeah.
To conceive my father. Thus, I don't exist, nor does the time machine.
The entire chain of events would collapse.
So there's nobody to go back in time to kill my grandfather. So he is alive, so he does conceive my father, and then I am, and then I have a time machine.
And that is the most famous paradox example. My favorite paradox example is the entire Terminator.
The Terminator.
The Terminator storyline, in that John Connor can't exist in a world that involves him having to send his own father back in time.
Right. Whereas my favorite might be the Heinlein. I think it's the Heinlein, the really twisted, fucked paradox
the
where
zombie
the person
story.
The person is their own mother, father, granddaughter. Is really gross.
Right. I forget what that's called. It's something like We Are the Zombies or something like that.
What the fuck are you saying? It's the only way to get home. What? You have to kill them. Kill them! Kill them! Kill them!
So, vital statistics. Like I had mentioned previously, this film is courting a $12 million production budget. Unfortunately, only did about $500,000 worlooide.
Did you say $5,000?
$500,000.
Oh, okay.
That's still pretty terrifically awful. We're looking at an 82% critic score, which is actually a little bit higher than I would have expected, but only a 58% audience score, which is a little bit lower than I would have expected. I was kind of in the ballpark of giving this film high 70s for both.
To some extent, happiness is about realizing your expectations. And it looks like a horror movie, and horror movie people might be slightly bummed out by the fact that it's a little bit less of a...
Well,
it's not a torture porn, thankfully.
No.
But the critic response makes total sense to me. Because I think this, like a Duncan Jones movie, is a great example of arriving at generally a crap overbeat horse and actually managing to find a way or a nature of entwining your story that makes me interested.
Right.
Again.
Okay, Jess, I am prepared to listen to you. I'm even prepared to believe you, but you've got to start making some sense.
Making perfect sense. I'm gonna get Victor, then we get off this ship. Wait here. And don't trust anyone. If anyone comes, you shoot them.
What the fuck are you talking
You
about?
shoot them.
And as of this taping, guys, we should point out that Triangle, is available on Amazon VOD and the Zune Marketplace. I, myself, being a user of the Zune.
And of course, DVD and Blu-ray.
Oh, well, DVD and Blu-ray, if those are still being made.
No one knows.
No one knows. I haven't checked in a while. And Source Code will have just broken about 2 weeks ago. I know it did a little bit of money in the box office, but a lot of love for this film. There's still time, guys. Rise up.
Yeah, definitely check it out if you haven't. And also with Source Code, DVD, Blu-ray, Amazon VOD. I don't know if it's going to go Xbox. Did it go?
Yeah.
Oh, it did. Okay. So then also Xbox
I watched
Zune
it
Marketplace as well.
Today in the past.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. That means Xbox would have gotten an exclusive on it.
Apparently.
Apparently, I made a tremendous mistake in buying my PS3.
And I did not, by way of buying both.
Don't I give off lonely to you?
Sometimes.
When I come in to see you at the diner, I'm not lonely, I'm hungry. Obviously, yesterday was different.
What happened yesterday?
Well, yesterday, I was not hungry. I came in with the sole purpose of inviting you sailing.
You did?
I did.
So next week, good golly, Miss Molly, she showed up to the ball.
I think next week we got to go back and cover some classics.
Oh, no.
I know. I think that's what we're going to do. So until that time, I'm Juan.
I'm Lee.
And have fun watching some movies because
While
he
you still
won't be
can.
over the next couple days while we're watching old classic films.
Overall, I generally find it hard to not just be a nerdy Duncan Jones fanboy.
I gave up trying to fight that. I really am just a big old nerdy Duncan Jones fanboy.
Oh, great.
And especially it was just totally reinforced by meeting him in person, where, you know, like I went up and I shook his hand, like, oh, hey, I'm from MYMHM, we've tweeted. And he pretended to
do the
recognize
service
me.
of being like,
oh, right,
yeah.
you, that
Course.
guy.
Yeah,
neat.
I totally
awesome.
fucking remember.
And just the fact that he wasn't a prick about the whole thing, like.
Well, and I know this is a dream come true for you.
He bought himself like 5 films worth of passes for me. Like, he could make 5 absolute turkeys, and I'd still be like, but he said it was neat.
Well, and then I know that this movie was especially close to your heart with how much you love Duncan Jones and the Jake Gyllenhaal Tiger Beat posters.
Oh, absolutely.
It
wasn't Tiger Beat. It was just wallpapering my room with like screen grabs of Donnie Darko.
Right. The only one that creeps me out is the one above the bed. So that's the first thing I see in the morning.
No, that one came down. That one is actually now Sam Rockwell.
No. Wow.
We're starting a whole new spread. It's going to be in this sort of Sam Rockwell blurring into into like a boundary line.
Just a creepy tiled room of madness. Oh, I don't know. It's been a bit, 40 episodes or so.
Ish.
Moon is a damn near perfect movie. Small-timey by first-time director Duncan Jones, son of David Bowie.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could do a good David Bowie. I don't even.
Ground
What is he?
control to Major Tom.
That's gonna have to do.
That's about as much as we can do for David Bowie.
Captain Culture Stevens, this is Beleaguered Castle.
We're still dealing with like the ramifications of science fiction. Like Moon is a really good example of taking a tired sci-fi trope and then sort of trying to find a way to humanize it. And I think Duncan Jones is doing the same thing with Source Code.
Yeah, and I think again, Source Code is a similar type of procedure as far as writing something reasonably small. You know, kind of a big thing, taking it down. In this case, we open up in some kind of creepy kind of sci-fi environment with Jake Gyllenhaal playing Coulter Stevens. Coulter Stevens, he's a captain in the Air Force, doesn't know where he is. And we introduce almost immediately this like crazy sci-fi thing where we've got this guy, he's in a pod, and Vera Farmiga is in a little window somewhere else. She's acting kind of sketch.
Yeah.
Honestly, not really looking. Oh my God! Finally, you've been waiting.
You've been waiting
with
for us to talk about this
finger
film,
hovering
I'm
over the
sure.
out on DVD button for like 6 months. But guys, we're back on the Duncan Jones Express.
Yes, we are.
For a slightly more successful movie than the last one we covered.
I had the pleasure of meeting Duncan Jones at South by Southwest, where I told him I kind of hope this movie's not on our show. because that would mean it was really successful. And Source Code is actually a pretty successful film, but I kind of want to say fuck it, I want to talk about it.
Not successful enough.
Okay. And we want you guys to watch it more.
Right.
That's our justification for reviewing this film on our show.
And that's all we need. And we must be talking about none other
than the
2010?
11.
Wow, 2011.
Drama.
Time travelish.
Science fiction.
Stop the bomb.
Gyllenhaalian. Oh, that doesn't count. Classic! Source Code.
So, kids, you might remember Duncan Jones back from our Moon episode some time ago. Some dude named Sean. He is a teacher of some kind on a commuter train around Chicago. Tangent, great aerial photography.
Oh, Chicago has never looked cleaner.
Yeah, we're used to this.
Film.
We're used to the establishing like helicopter work, but apparently they didn't use stock. They shot it themselves. Did a lovely job. Looks really cool.
Really
kind of made me want to go to Chicago, even though I don't really like Chicago very much. I have no predisposition to liking Chicago anyway.
Brutal winters, I'll give them that.
They have brutal winters, and they have Michelle McHagan. That's I said it correctly. Apparently,
You're the pretty girl. The distraction.
Distraction?
Every sim has one.
Hey, are we gonna make up the 10 minutes?
so apparently Sean rides this train every day. Seems to know the sort of like cast of characters, and so Jake Gyllenhaal as Sean spends these multiple trips, sort of grilling the people in this passenger train
just
because
to dig
they
up
seem to think
information.
that he's in that train. Maybe it was proximity to the bomb because the bomb was right there.
Right.
Looked like a backpack with a cell phone taped to it.
Ish.
Not a lot of safeguards for a bomb, if you ask me.
It's kind of a DIY affair.
Should I unplug it, or do you want me to just leave it, or?
Summer.
It's hot.
I hate that it's summer and it's hot in this room when we're doing this stuff.
I know.
It's much less
Hold on,
comfortable.
let me just pat down and then we can.
It's sheen is what it is.
God, it's so gross and oily and
It's like you put orange glow all over your face.
a little bit. I'm trying to get more sun. It's not working.
Okay. And if you're huffing and puffing, I will find you time after time, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Movies You May Have Missed, the show where we discuss
Movies you may have missed.
like that song, don't know the words.
But really, the only important thing that we're trying to get at is that this week we're talking about 2 time travel films.
Are we?
Time after time.
Is it time travel? Really? Exactly.
We're sort of dealing with 2 paradoxy, alternate university methodology for temporary cycles and iterations of time travel films. But
Essentially-
that doesn't really roll off the tongue as well.
No, I mean, they're basically just time travel movies without the phone booth.
Yes.
Or the Dolorean, essentially.
Or the police box.
Yeah. Don't get the last one. The
That's
British
okay.
thing.
Yeah. It's the British thing.
The British thing.
The
you
British
know.
thing.
You know the one British thing?
Yeah. So, first up,
I'm in the eyes so much.
and sort of holding some information back, we think.
Because apparently they have the technology, guys, the technology to force him into another man's body for 8 minutes. The 8 minutes that apparently we have something of a black box synapse recorder in our brains. And he's reliving this 8 minutes over and over again. And it's just before a bomb goes off on a train.
Where is it? What does it look like? What kind of explosion?
Right.
How is it detonated?
Right.
Find the bomb, and you will find the bomber.
Find the bomb. Wait, no.
And we also sort of, one of the things I really appreciate about the film is in the explanation of this, it's not time travel.
Right.
It's that we're just going back 8 minutes in this person's memory. And that allows us to sort of explore the space. And we also think that the guy who blew up this train is planning another plot. And so it's vital to find more information, just anything that they can find from the happenstance on the train to make sure that they stop any future threats from this individual.
What are you late for?
What?
You seem concerned about the time. What are you late for?
Well, I'm to an asshole festival. I hear you're headlining.
Oh, that's funny. What are you, a comedian?
Yeah. He is a comedian.
So naturally, Dr. Gyllenhaal is embodying